What's up, guys? It's your boy Spider Productions, and today I'm trying to. This is my first time doing this recording still, so this is off of my iPad. So I'm gonna try to do my best to do my reviews here. In the future, I had got an idea from someone that I should do clipboards and stuff. So thank you. So I will in the future when I do my future reviews, I will jot down like my initial thoughts. I will jot down spoilers. I will jot down non-spoiler stuff to talk about if you just want it to be this to be a non-spoiler thing or a spoiler thing, just for you to know. But this will definitely be a spoiler review because the game's not that long. So I literally just finished Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales like 10 minutes ago. And I wanted to talk about it while it was still fresh in my memory. And I know I'm still posting parts of it, so those will still be out. So if you have not seen those parts yet, or you haven't seen the end of the game yet, or you want to experience it for yourself, do that. Do not come here until you've beaten the game or watched the entire thing to see my review of it. Please, I recommend you don't, because this is a game you definitely want to play yourself or watch for yourself if you don't have access to either or. So, right off the bat, I will say, do not get this game on the PS4. I'm going to tell you that right now. You will see through my gameplay series why. Because there were a lot of glitches and a lot of frame rate drops. And it's understandable because this game was made for the PS5. So I knew this game wasn't going to look the best on the PS4. I just knew it. But with PS5, with everyone buying a PS5, I didn't want to wait 2 weeks or a week to try to get it, the console, and then I don't get it again, and then I'm gonna have to wait a few months, and by that time everybody would have spoiled it by then. So I just said screw it and just played it for myself. But yeah, because I was already, again, if you know, I was already spoiled. Now, since this is a spoiler review, I can talk about spoilers now. So the spoilers that I was spoiled on, unfortunately, because like I said, I wanted to wait. So when Miles Morales came out, I want to say last Thursday, I didn't play it that night, but I downloaded it on the PS4. But I didn't play it that night because I wanted to wait until I got the 5. Didn't get the 5. So, I didn't play it for Thursday and Friday, but I started playing it. I think I played it Friday night, I think. But I played it then, and by that time, I had been spoiled on 2 things. At the beginning of the game, semi-beginning, I was spoiled on Finn being the... Well, I was spoiled on Finn being the Tinkerer, but I didn't know who that character was because they didn't introduce her yet, so I didn't know who that was. But I was spoiled that I already knew the Tinkerer, or the Tinkerer, was a girl. I already knew that. We saw it in the gameplay trailer. She had a feminine body. Of course, she was a female, but I didn't know who it was. And when they showed her face, I was like, "Who is this?" Didn't know. So when I saw her in the game, I was like, "Oh, it's her." Damn it! Like I was mad. I was spoiled about that. But people, idiots, mean, jerky people, decide to freaking put spoilers on the dang on in the caption in the video, like, or you know what I mean, the profile like image. They like to put spoilers right there or place it in the title. And it annoys me that people do that. Like, why can't you wait a few weeks or a week until people get it? Because people in the UK are getting it now. So you've already been spoiled it by now. Like, come on now. Why are y'all a-holes? Why? It's unnecessary. But anyway, so afterwards, so that was the first thing I was spoiled on. The second thing I was spoiled on was a cutscene towards the end of the game where there was a flashback where Finn and Miles were going through the Science Center to look at all these other projects and stuff, and they were trying to find theirs. And they meet up with Peter and Doc Ock for the first time. And I was kind of surprised. But then I was kind of confused because I was like, okay, if Miles and Pete meet here for the first time, even though technically it was just like a coincidence, he wouldn't have remembered him. But I still felt like that was a bit much because I'm like, Miles doesn't meet Peter until his dad's funeral. The fact that he met him there, don't you think he would have at least remembered him? Just me. But, you know, it was a coincidental thing, so maybe it wasn't anything. I probably would forget. But even still, I feel like that's a little bit much. But that was just me. Anyway, after that was the other thing I was spoiled on. The third thing I was spoiled on was that Finn was going to die. I was very mad that I was spoiled about that. I thought that he was going to beat her, arrest her, and then Krieger was going to be the official bad guy in the game. That's what I thought. Like, I thought we were going to have a boss fight with him. But no, it was just with Finn. And Finn died protecting us. Because, again, this is spoilers. Miles absorbs the reactor that you see at the beginning of the game at Roxxon Plaza. He absorbs the reactor, but like throughout the game, Miles can absorb reactors, but he can't contain the energy, and he has to release it. But he's gotten used to doing the small ones. But yeah, as the game progresses, when he absorbs that, he needs to release it. But if he releases it, he could have killed those other people in Harlem. The other characters, Teo, Haley, Camilla, Genki, and Miles's mom, and Finn, and we would have killed them all. But Finn literally used the last of her power to run us up into the sky, and freaking like Superman carried us in the sky and blew up and died. So that was it was emotional because I actually really liked her. I also liked her brother too. So it sucks that it ended like that. But it was a very good ending. I really liked that ending. Like I said, I felt like it was a bit rushed, in my opinion. Like the game overall is amazing. Like the game, like don't even get me started on everything else. But we'll get to that in a second. I just want to talk about the ending because it's still fresh in my brain, and I'd rather talk about that and then continue to talk about everything else. But yeah, so yeah, I just feel like it was a bit rushed. I didn't feel the slow emotional impact that we got last game, because last game, again, this is spoilers. I'm tired of saying spoilers at this point. People need to hear it a few times. Anyway, but yeah, in the first game, it was emotional because we had to fight Martin Lee, and Martin Lee was the main bad guy of the game, but find out that he was actually a good person fighting his inner demons, so he wasn't truly evil. And Norman Osborn was the reason that he was Martin Lee, Mr. Negative in the first place, so he never even wanted to do this. So that was emotional. And then the fact that Doc Ock, who I knew was going to be evil, but I didn't know if he was going to be evil this game or next game. But yeah, it sucked that, Doc Ock turned evil because Norman Osborn was being a dick and trying to destroy his company. And then he was also dealing with, what was the disease again? A degenerative neurological disorder is what he called it. And that's what he was suffering. And it was like that in the comics, I think. In the comics, I think he was just dying. And then he switched brains with Peter Parker and became the Superior Spider-Man. But here, it was kind of similar. Like, he was losing all motor functions, but his brain was still active. So I thought that they were going to try to do that, like switch their brains in the first game, but they didn't. Thank God. But yeah, that's the reason why he wanted to build the arms, because he was losing all motor functions. But yeah, it's just, that fight was more emotional, and it was difficult as hell to fight that boss fight. But yeah, when we were fighting and we got to that point, that was the first time in a video game I've cried before. I didn't cry playing God of War. I didn't cry playing Detroit. I didn't cry playing Life is Strange. Like, I almost did, but I didn't because I had a heart of steel. But dude, maybe it's because I grew up watching Spider-Man my whole life. Like, ever since the Tobey movies came out, I remember going to the theaters to see, like, 2 and 3. I don't remember seeing 1, because obviously they came out before I was born. But 2 and 3 we went to go to the theaters to see. And Spider-Man's literally been my inspiration, my favorite hero my whole life. And seeing something like this, like when the first game came out, was, like, so impactful to me, because it's like, it was a breath of fresh air. And that's what I love, especially with this game. Even though it's short, which I hated. That's the main thing I hated. It's the same problem I had with Lost Legacy, Uncharted. It was a good game, but it was short. And it was a spin-off, so I figured it was going to be short. But that was the problem. It shouldn't have been that short. But hey, this game definitely deserved to be longer, but it was great from what we've played. Like, they were able to condense a story, and it felt like a movie, too, because everything was just happening so fast. In the first game, it took time for things to happen, because it's a game. It's like 10, 20 hours to play a game. But this game only took, like, if I had played this for an entire day, I would have probably beaten it by then. But I wanted to take my time with this. So I did all the side missions, which you will see in the game play. I did all the side missions. I did all the main events. Like, I did all that. I did enough as I could before I actually continued the story, because I knew the game was short. And yeah, it was. If I kept playing every main story, I would have beaten it instantly. Because that was the problem I had when I played the first game. I was too busy playing the story that I didn't do any of the side missions. So, but anyway, yeah, like, I would say this game threw me a loop for a lot of different reasons. Like, with with I knew Prowler was going to be in it because we saw the trailer with him in it, and when we saw Aaron Davis working as a subway worker, I was actually kind of surprised. I thought he would be bad off the bat. Like I thought he was going to be evil, but I think they said that he came out of retirement. So they said that Aaron Davis became the Prowler he became the Prowler before his dad died, but he got kicked out of the family because he tried to convince him to understand. But then he got kicked out of the family, and he felt like if he had not said anything, he would still have his family. But then his brother died, and then he stayed out of retirement. He got out of the Prowler game and tried to be a normal person. Then he finds out that Miles is Spider-Man, and now he came out of retirement to keep an eye on Miles. Then he sold us out later in the game trying to capture Finn, but he was in a way looking out for us. Like, I can understand, I guess, from a parental figure that you feel like, doing something wrong could benefit your child or benefit a family member, but trust me, let them handle it. I'm not saying they can handle it all the time, but like sometimes you need to trust them. Like, what's the point of raising them to know right from wrong, to be able to learn to do things on their own, if when they're faced with a decision like that, you don't give them a chance to figure it out? That's just, I deal with that sometimes. I keep my mouth shut, but honestly, I just feel like sometimes I wish they trust me a bit more. Like, I'm not going to say I'm perfect. I'm far from it. I'm still trying to figure this stuff out. I'm 19. I got my whole life to figure this out. But people like to rush me, sorry. It's kind of spit. People like to rush me and try to rush my process. But no, for me, I need to take my time. It's the only way I learn anything. But yeah, I just felt like, I've seen a lot of that. Like, parental figures in video games, TV shows, everything. They just feel like they know everything. And it's just like, your experiences make you know what you think you know. Your experiences are based off things that happened in your, area. But this is a different time where things are done differently and viewed differently. It's better to have people younger learn and are able to take those important steps and learn to be better than just think you know everything and think you know what's best, and then they feel like you betrayed them, and then you lose their trust trying to protect them. I get it, but at the same time, it's like a double negative at the same time. But anyway, so yeah, after he sold us out, then he jumped us when we tried to go after Finn, and we had a really cool fight with Prowler. I want to say I died a few times fighting other boss fights in the game, but I died the most fighting Prowler and Finn towards the end of the game. I don't think I died that much when I played the Doc Ock level, the final boss. I don't think I died that much, but I died a lot here. And sometimes it was really stupid how I died, but whatever. It was still awesome. The fight was freaking amazing. It was awesome. But, yeah, I just felt like I died a lot for them to be the last two boss fights. But yeah, I want to say afterwards, after Finn sacrificed herself, we got a scene with Peter, and, he was talking about, does this job as being Spider-Man get easier? And he's like, and some cases, yeah, but the important stuff, no. And it's very true. In some cases it could be easy, but the important, impactful moments, no. It's never really easy. But yeah, it was good to see a cool swing shot with them at the end. It's fucking badass. And it was the end of the game. But before, the review is nowhere near over. But I want to talk about the representation that this game brings. In a way, I loved it. But I'm not saying I'm not liking it. What I'm thinking is that I'm an African-American 19-year-old kid. I'm not mixed with anything. Well, technically I am. I'm kind of mixed with a white person. We have a bit of white genetics in my family. But it's I don't feel like that's really impactful to me. My whole life, I've just been told I was African-American. That's what I'm used to. Now that I know that I'm mixed, I guess, I don't feel like I am. I've had people my whole life tell me I'm white just based off how I act, but I don't think race has anything to do with personality. Race is just something you look like, depending on your ethnicity, your outer coloring. That doesn't affect my personality. Like, people think I'm stereotyped as not a black person because I don't stereotypically act like the stereotypic black person, which doesn't make sense to me either. Whatever. But it's just like, I thought like because I'm white, or I guess part white, that I act the way I act, but that's not the case at all. Like, that's just my personality. That's what I've developed and learned from. My personality has nothing to do with my coloring. It really doesn't. Like, I would love to meet more people that act like me rather than look like me, because there's not a lot of people who act like me in this world. There are a lot of people who look like me, but they don't act like me. So, but yeah, I felt like with this, I felt connected to Miles because he's African American, but then sometimes I step back because it's like, he's Afro Latino, not African American, I guess. And it's just like, I feel more sympathetic with him because he looks African American. He looks black, but he's also Latino too. So sometimes I feel like I sympathize with him, but then other times I feel like I don't, because I don't really know what it's like to be Afro Latino. Like, I'm sure it's similar to being black, but you know, you can speak American, you can English, you can speak Spanish. Shit, I can't even speak a different language. So it's just like, you know, I can't really fully relate to him, but I can relate to him in like the outer aspects, I guess. But yeah, like I love the representation in this game between the art styles that everybody had, between the characters we knew, between how close the community was with everyone, and how helping all of those people in the community felt impactful towards the end when they kept our secret. They didn't tell anybody that Miles was Spider-Man. They didn't tell the news that, and it felt like it was more impactful because I did help save their lives throughout the game. So it felt more impactful that they were there to stick their neck out for me. So that's why I say, like, you definitely should do the side missions before you do the final boss, because I feel like if you just do the story, it won't feel as impactful, because the people you help in the side missions help you in the end. So that's why I feel like that's why it impacted me a bit more, because I actually helped those people and they helped me. So that's why I say, like, definitely do the side missions, or at least the app missions. Do that, and then when you get to the final boss, it'll feel more impactful, and that's how it did for me. I loved how we saw Rhino more than once in this game, because I was reading a comic book about Miles Morales, and in the comic he was fighting Rhino, but Rhino wasn't bad, I guess, in this situation. He was looking for a family member who was captured, and Miles and Rhino had to work together with Captain America. It's a crazy team up, in my opinion. But yeah, they had to work together to face off against these guys who were kidnapping teenagers and making them superpowered weapons, basically. And I thought that was interesting because in that comic they work together, and in this they're fighting each other more than once. So I found that interesting. I also loved that at the beginning, because if you remember the last game, I'm speeding again, Jesus. If you remember the last game, it's the braces. If you remember the last game, where there was a mission you play as Miles and Rhino is chasing you, but you don't have your spider powers, so you have to run and hide from this guy. But then in this game, he's the boss you fight pretty much. So I like that they actually, you went from being afraid of him in the last game as Miles to overpowering him in this game. Like, I thought that was really cool. So the first time you fight him was at the beginning of the game with Peter. Then you fight him again when Roxxon, because if you remember, after you beat him, Roxxon said that they would hold him for the police. But they didn't. They took him, made a deal with him, upgraded his armor so that Miles' Venom Strike couldn't affect him. And we had to fight him again. And this time he worked for Roxxon. And it was really cool that we got to fight him more than once. Now, Simon Krieger, the most dickish villain. Like, he's the most dickish villain. Like, for a guy that had no superpowers and you didn't even put hands on this guy throughout the whole game. That's the only thing I wish I could have done, was add a boss fight with him, because I would have loved to whoop his ass throughout this game, because he was such a jerk. But yeah, But I wanted to say this because I didn't say this last time when I did this, like the pre-review, like my first thoughts of it. This dude looks just like Eddie Brock from Spider-Man 3. If you've played Spider-Man, or if you've watched Spider-Man 3, He looks just like that dude. Like, I kept looking at him. Like, as soon as I saw him, his what he was saying didn't really stick with me. Like, I knew he couldn't be trustworthy from the start, because anybody who's not the main characters get that much screen time, he's obviously going to be evil. Like, I knew it. But like, it was funny because I was like, that's Troy Baker voicing him. Of course. Troy Baker voices a lot of people. And it's funny that that man just has a lot of roles in every video game, which I think is awesome, but it's funny. But yeah, as soon as I saw him, I was like, that's not Eddie. And then I said to Simon Krieger, I was like, dude, you look like Eddie Brock from Spider-Man 3. You look totally untrustworthy. Like, I don't even care what you're saying. I can't stop looking at you. Like, you just look like Eddie Brock to me from that movie. But yeah, like, I found that funny that it was voiced by Troy Baker. Now, I've also found that interesting because I've never seen, or other than the Joker from Arkham Origins, which still doesn't feel like Troy Baker to me because he voiced the Joker in that game and he did a fantastic job. But I didn't feel like, I've never seen Troy Baker as the villain before. So seeing him here as a villain was actually really cool. And I hated him. Like, I hated him throughout this whole game. I hated him. So he plays the villain role really well. I've seen him play the hero role, but he's played the villain role very well. So props to you, Troy Baker, for that. But props to the whole cast, man. The cast, the crew, the animators, the digital artists, all of you guys, the voice actors, y'all all did amazing for this game. Like, I felt like the game was amazing. Like, again, I really wish the game was longer because it deserved to be. Like, but I know it's a spin-off to when the sequel comes out. Now, the biggest questions that I have as far as the sequel. We just saw the post-credits scene where, you remember in the last game, Harry was sick, because it's been a common thing as far as like the Osborns lately. Like, ever since, I want to say, Amazing Spider-Man 2, the Osborns, both Norman and Harry, have had like a disease, and it's kind of like forced them to be villains, I guess you could say. And it's been like that a lot lately. Like, I want to say they did that in that movie, and they're doing it in this game. They didn't do it in the Marvel Spider-Man show. They didn't do it there. But I've noticed they've been doing it a lot lately, and it's been a common trend. But this time, instead of Norman being sick, like in the movie in Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then it passed to Harry, it was from his mom and then passed to Harry. So Harry was sick with a rare genetic disease, and Devil's Breath, which was used to infect the whole city, was being made to cure Harry. That was the point of it. But at its current form, it was a bioweapon and could be used to hurt people. So Norman had to find another way to cure Harry. But in the end of this game, or at the end of the last game, Harry had these tendrils that were attached to him, and it looked like the symbiote that was attached to him. Now, I don't know if this means that Oscorp in this version created symbiosis or the symbiotes, and it was being used to keep Harry alive. I don't know, possibly. But it was cool to see that, and it was cool that that basically could mean that Norman could be Green Goblin in the next game, and then Harry could be Venom, which would be really interesting. And then I wonder if they're gonna go that route. Is it gonna be like Web of Shadows? Because if you played Web of Shadows, is a very great game, despite the fact that I hate the voice acting, especially for Spider-Man. The voice acting for other characters was really good, like Wolverine, Moon Knight, Luke Cage was funny at times. But other voice actors were really good, but Spider-Man's voice in that game was terrible. Like, he sounded like the wimpiest kid. Like, you think Toby was a wimpy kid by how he spoke? Listen to that dude in Spider-Man Web of Shadows. Like, it's funny as hell. But yeah, I found it funny. It seems like that's the route they might go with, because in Web of Shadows, Venom's symbiote was able to spread to multiple people, and multiple people got infected with the symbiotes. And then Venom, the symbiotes, took over all of New York. And Venom had an army. And Peter had the black suit on, so you could switch between the red and black suit and make good or evil choices. It's a great game. I recommend you play it, despite the terrible-ass voice acting. But despite that, it's a great game. I wonder if in the sequel, if Eddie, because I heard that in one of the articles for their articles for this game, they had Eddie Brock on it. So I wonder, is Harry going to be Venom? And then Eddie Brock might come into play somehow? Maybe? because now that Peter isn't a scientist anymore, it's a possibility they may make him the photographer for the Daily Bugle again. I would prefer him to be a scientist. I actually think he should pursue that career. But the only place I can think he can pursue the career is Alchemax, because they did say that Alchemax exists in this version. There were chemicals that Tombstones was using, and they were Alchemax chemicals. So I feel like if there's any place Peter should work is at Alchemax. I think he should work there if he wants to pursue his scientific expertise and not go to Oscorp. But he should definitely go to Alchemax, because Spider-Man 2099 works at Alchemax. So I think that would be a cool Easter egg if they did that. But if he decides to just go back to being a photographer, that's fine. That means he can work closely with MJ, and then he can work closely with Robbie. And if Eddie Brock does become in play, it would make the story more connected. If Eddie Brock and Peter had that hate relationship already, so I guess it would make sense. But who knows what they decide to go with. But yeah, if Harry's going to be Venom, will Eddie Brock come into play? Because they confirmed that Eddie Brock does exist in this universe. So I wonder if Harry becomes Venom, will Eddie get Venom symbiote and then fight Harry? Or will Harry be good with the symbiote and then fight Eddie? Who knows? And I'm curious. We also saw that Dr. Connors was in this game too. At the end, he was working on on Harry's condition with Norman. So that means Connors could possibly be in the sequel as well. So that's cool. I'm glad that they put that in there. But yeah, there's a lot of possibilities for the sequel. Like, the biggest one, since we got a taste of playing as Peter in the first game with the whole game plus the DLCs, we got a taste of what it's like to play as this version of Peter Parker. With this game, because I'm sure there's not going to be DLCs for this, unfortunately, we got a taste of playing as Miles. I'm wondering in the sequel, can you switch between characters like you did in the first game? In the first game, you majority played as Peter, but then at times you'll switch with Miles and MJ for certain missions. I wonder now that Miles is Spider-Man, will you be able to play as Peter and Miles 50% of the time? Like, can you switch between Peter majority, like 50% of the game, and then Miles 50% of the game, or will it just be flip-flop between missions? I wonder how they do it. I know there's not going to be co-op or multiplayer or anything, because that'll be a little bit much for a Spider-Man game. Who knows? But then that means they would have to update their AI systems. Because Last of Us did a really good job with having the AI character actually help you when you do missions with them. They actually are the most useful AIs, actually. So I wonder if they're going to go that route, they need to step it up for the next game as far as having characters. And they kind of showed you a bit of that. There were certain missions where you fought with Prowler and you fought with Finn, and they actually helped you do combos and stuff like that in the game, which is also really cool. So I wonder doing that sets up the combos we're going to see with Miles and Peter in the sequel. So it's a lot of opportunities. I wonder if we're going to see a lot of Peter and Miles scenes together, going around New York City doing side missions with just the two of them. Some missions may be for Miles, some missions may be for Peter. Who knows what they're going to do? It's literally like limitless what they could do. So I cannot wait to see what we get. But I would say, yeah, like the representation with this game, like I love that we got to see Harlem, because I've watched Luke Cage, and we got like a good Harlem vibe from that show. So I definitely got that same feeling playing this game with us, the home base being Harlem, basically. I love that we got to see like so much representation between Black Lives Matter. We saw a Black Lives Matter art in this, which I loved that they put that in there, because it's like more important now than ever. So I'm glad that they actually took that and put that in the game. And they also put a Stan Lee statue in the game. I haven't found it yet, but I saw that they put a Stan Lee statue in the game because he died, and it was amazing because he was in that cameo scene at Mix in the last game, and his statue's next to Mix, so I need to find it. I also loved how they had the Haley, who's a African American deaf girl, but she's an artist. I love that they actually showed her character being deaf, because we, especially in video games, we don't see a lot of deaf representation. Like we don't see that a lot. But I like that the fact that even though she's deaf, doesn't stop her from being an artist either. I like that they were actually willing to show that, and it was amazing that they were showing that she can still be an artist and still show off her genius, brilliant creations. and how open-minded she is, even if she can't verbally speak. Like I felt like I felt her personality based on her art. And a lot of artists try to do that, but it's more impactful when you can't speak. So you have to draw in order to show people how passionate you are. And it's really cool. I also like that Miles actually knew sign language, so he was able to communicate with her, and it was really cool. I wonder if she'll possibly be a love interest, because we saw her a lot in this game. And I said that in one of the gameplays I did, but obviously you can't hear the audio, unfortunately. But I felt like we saw that girl a lot. Like, we saw her at the Tails bar. We saw her at the beginning of the game. We saw her again at the rally. We saw her again in a side mission. And then we see her again at the end twice. So I feel like she has to be important, possibly for the future. Because Peter got his love interest with MJ. I wouldn't mind if it be with Haley. I'd ship it. I ship it. So if that's a possibility, I say go for it, because it's really cool. And it would show like the differences between Miles and Peter also. But the main thing I loved the most was that in every version of Miles Morales' character, or majority of his versions, Peter always has to die for Miles to be like the new Spider-Man. And I know people like that. I personally don't, because Spider-Man has always, like, here's my thing. I feel more inspired from Peter Parker, even though we don't look alike, we're not the same race, we don't come from the same backgrounds, we don't come from the same environment, we don't have the same lifestyle, but for some reason I still feel like I vibe with Peter and feel more inspired by his Spider-Man, and feel connected to him as a character through his awkwardness and quirkiness and his jokes, even though he doesn't look anything like me. And that says a lot, because there's rarely characters like that. Like, he's white, I'm black, but I still feel empowered and connected with this guy, even though he looks nothing like me and we don't share the same backgrounds. With Miles, I love Miles because he does have that similar background to me, and he does have that representation of being an Afro-Latino character. And I understand and feel that being an African-American. Like, I can understand that. And I can feel like I vibe with Miles. But I vibe with Miles only because he looks like me. But I still love his character regardless. But I feel like I vibe with Miles more because he looks like me. But with Peter, I vibe with him based on his character, based on his personality. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I love that Miles, even though in this version Peter doesn't die, Miles still stepped up and proved that he was just as capable as the other Spider-Man, even if he's alive or dead. So that's the thing. I'm glad that in this version, we actually get to see Peter and Miles work together. Because you only get to see that in the Marvel Spider-Man show, which is basically where they're both the same age, or in the comics, where they both work together that way. But I like that in this game, we actually get to see it. Like, we get to see it as like a movie-ish type feel. So I hope that if they're going to kill Peter, don't do it for like another few games, please. Like, and then you can have Miles take over. But like, I feel like they shouldn't even do it, because it's just like, I love this version of Peter Parker. I love this version of Miles. Like, they're both lovable characters, and now we both get to see them both be Spider-Man. So I just hope that they don't kill them off, or kill Peter Parker off, most likely, for Miles to be a successor. But the main thing I also loved was that they didn't change his name. And here's what I mean. With Miles Morales being Spider-Man, after Peter Parker in his universe, in the Ultimate Universe, die for Miles to be the new Spider-Man, I love that when Miles came to the main universe where Spider-Man, the normal Spider-Man in the comic books exists, he didn't change his name. They were both Spider-Man. And you can obviously tell the difference between them, because Miles wears a black and red suit, where Peter wears a red and blue suit. So you can tell the difference, but they're both Spider-Man. The thing is that in the Marvel Spider-Man TV show, it gets confusing, because it's like Peter had been Spider-Man for 3 months in that version, and Miles just became Spider-Man, but they call him Kid Arachnid or Spidey or whatever the hell they call him. They just call him Miles. They just sell his name out. Whatever. But I just feel like in the game, I'm glad that they didn't change his name to anything. They just kept it Spider-Man. And people are like, some people will say like, thank you, other Spider-Man, or where's the real Spider-Man, and stuff like that. But now they like, when they refer to both of them, like when they're both there, they say Spider-Men. Spider-Men. But if you're talking about Spider-Man singular, you're talking about whichever one. So I'm glad that they didn't change his name to something stupid because, like, Miles earned the title to be Spider-Man. It doesn't make sense to change his name even if he is with Peter still being alive. It can get confusing, yeah, but it doesn't make sense for everything that Miles had done to be Spider-Man to change his name. Would just be like it wouldn't even be right. It just wouldn't feel right for him to work to be Spider-Man or to be a Spider-Man just to change his name is just kind of stupid. So I'm glad they didn't change his name, and they're just gonna keep calling him Spider-Man, just like Peter's Spider-Man, and I love that. Like Miles isn't Spider-Man like Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but he's a Spider-Man. So Spider-Man is more than just one person. It could be anyone, and that's what I love most about Miles. Peter shows us that anybody can be a hero. Peter shows us that even somebody from Queens, a normal boring neighborhood, can get powers and be a hero. Miles shows us that hero can be anyone. It can be more than just a white kid from Queens. It could be an African American kid from Brooklyn, or an Afro-Latino kid from Harlem, or a Hispanic Spider-Man, or Japanese, or whatever. It could be anyone could be Spider-Man. Like in Spider-Verse, anyone could put on the mask. You can wear the mask. You can be Spider-Man, regardless who you are. That's what Miles tells us. We can be Spider-Man whoever we are, whatever background we come from. Peter shows us that anyone can be a hero, whether you wear a mask or have powers or not. So I love that they're both Spider-Man, but they both inspire us in different ways. And I like that. So overall, I feel like I've talked a long time. I apologize because I have a lot to say. But I would give this game a 9 out of 10. Only because it would be a 10 out of 10 if the ending... No. Okay. I'll say 8 out of 10. Only because of these two reasons. It's an 8 out of 10 because I played this on the PS4, so there were a lot of graphical issues and a lot of frame rate drops and glitches. That was the biggest drawback for me, even though I know it's for the PS5, it's not supposed to run on the PS4, so it probably on the PS5 it has none of these glitches issues. But yeah, for my system it glitched like hell. Like sometimes Miles will just come in and his body's not even showing and half his head, his neck is just like there. Or sometimes Miles just won't even show up at all and then he'll just glitch in. And I'm just like, what the hell? And then the lighting would be super weird off certain characters. Like when Peter showed up in that scene towards the end, the lighting for his hair and face was so bright, and it was just bothered me there. Like, that's the only time I didn't like Peter's face there. But other than that, I still like Peter's new face. But I will get the PS5 console, and I will play the remastered version on my console, on my channel. I will play Spider-Man Remastered on my channel. And I will be replaying this game with my face cam and everything, so you guys can get proper reactions for the game. And hopefully, I'm probably sure I will have my setup and everything by the time the sequel rolls around, so you won't even have to worry about it. But yeah, I would have no problem replaying Spider-Man again for the PS5 remastered. I wouldn't have a problem playing it, Miles Morales' game again. I would have no problem with it. But yeah, I would say it's an 8 out of 10 because of the graphic and frame rate issues. That's one reason. Like that's both connected. The glitches, the lighting, and the frame rate drops. Those are the reasons for number one. My second reason is because the game at the end felt a bit rushed with how Finn dies, how the people of Harlem we've saved throughout the game stand up for us and tell them that they didn't see my face and that type of thing. I felt like that was a bit rushed because the ending in Spider-Man 1 in the PS4 game, it was slow, it was steady, but still told the hell out of an ending and made me cry and happy within a span of 10 minutes. Like between Aunt May dying and then Peter finally getting with MJ, it was and Miles telling Peter that he's Spider-Man. Like it just was like it went from crying, sadness to happy, grateful to ecstatic, can't wait for the sequel. So it was just it just went from all of that, and it gave me time to change my emotions as well. It gave me time to like grieve a bit. Aunt May's dead. Now we're moving on. Even though it sucks, but we're moving on. Now Peter's with MJ. I feel a bit better. Then Miles tells Peter he's Spider-Man. Then I feel like, then I'm like, yes. So it gave me time to switch with these emotions. With this ending, I felt like I had to rush. Like, I felt like I was like, okay, we fight. We're done. Harlem blows up. We have to save it. We crash. Then Miles goes to the reactor, tries to absorb it. Can't do it the first time. Does it again. Absorbs it. Then the people come in. Gotta get out of here. Grabs me. Throws me up there. Says, let go. I blow up. You die. I fall. People see my face. I don't die. Gotta put my face back, my mask back on. Then I get out. Like, I just felt like it was a bit rushed between scenes towards the end. Like, I had to rush and change my emotions on the fly. And I didn't like that. I wanted to take my time to absorb what I was seeing and take in the fact and make it feel impactful. I'm not saying it wasn't impactful. It was. Like I said, that's why I say you have to definitely do the missions. It was impactful, but it was rushed, and that was the problem. I wanted to take time to take in what was going on. From Finn's death, I was sad, but I didn't have time to mourn or grieve or feel sad about it, because then I had to rush with everything else that was going on. So yeah, that's the two reasons: the frame rate issues, the lighting, and the glitches. Probably doesn't do that on the 5. I don't know. And the fast paced ending scene. But overall, the game is amazing. So I would say it's an 8 out of 10. If it wasn't for if I had played it on the PS5, the frame rate drops and the graphic issues and the lighting probably wouldn't even bother me. But I'd still be bothered by how fast paced the ending is. But overall, this game was amazing. As I recommend, if you have not played this game, I recommend, like, it doesn't really spoil too much about the first game, so I would say that you could play this without knowing too much about the first game. It does give you, it does tell you what happened in the first game, but I definitely recommend you play the first game anyway, because the first game is amazing. It's great. So if you want to play this, please do, because it's an amazing game. It represents a lot. It goes into a lot of topics that are happening now. Like, I also didn't talk about that. When Miles saves the people on the bridge and Roxanne pulls their guns at him and the crowd's like, what are you doing? He saved us. Stop talking. She's like, I'm going to record this. And then dude takes her gun, tosses it, and the other dude tries to stand up for her, and he pushes him and then points his gun at them. That was risky, but you knew what they were going for with that because it's happening now. So they knew what they were doing, and I love that they did that. Like, that type of thing is happening right now. So I'm grateful that they put that in there. Like, so there's a lot of impactful moments and a lot of relatable and representation moments throughout this game that I love. But I feel like I've talked long enough. This is my longest video for a review, because technically this is my first review for like a video game. So yeah, I recommend you definitely watch this. I recommend that you definitely show this to your friends and everything. If you loved Miles from Into the Spider-Verse, you'll love him here. Trust me. And it's better because Peter's not dead. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. If you watched this whole way through, you guys are awesome, because this is a long video, so I apologize. But if you watched this the whole way through, you guys are amazing. If you like this review and want me to do more reviews like this, hit the subscribe button. Comment down below. Tell me what your thoughts of the game if you finished it already. For those who have not seen this, put spoilers on top of your comments so I know it's spoilers, and so other people know it's spoilers so they won't be spoiled. But definitely tell me what your thoughts of how the game was. Tell me how you felt about it. Tell me, did it impact you? As if you played the first game, did it impact you as much as the last game ending did? Let me know. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. I'm curious to know what you guys think of this game. So yeah, now that this game is over, I'm still debating whether if I should continue Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima and Avengers, because I wanted to wait until I got my setup. But seeing as how it seems like a decent amount of people are liking the videos for this game so far, even without my face cam and audio, I don't really know if I'll continue. I'm not saying I'm going to stop playing these games. No. I don't know the ending to Marvel's Avengers or Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima even now. They've been out for months and I still don't know. But I wanted to wait until I got my setup so you guys could see my face and audio through the rest of the game. So if you guys also post in the comments, do you guys want me to continue this gameplay even though I don't have the audio and the face cam for it yet, and you just want me to do my review now like I'm doing for this game for the other games? If you guys do, let me know in the comments below, and I will definitely do that for you guys, and I will just post the other games, because I still have those recordings saved. So if you guys want me to do that, let me know. But yeah, I'm glad you guys liked it. Like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Tell me what you guys thought. Tell me if you loved it. Tell me if you guys liked this review. It's long as hell. I apologize, but I was just so passionate about this. And also, I almost forgot about the Chadwick Boseman tribute. They did a tribute to our king, Wakanda Forever. I love you guys. You are the reason I do this. You're also the reason I continue to thrive, and even in my worst of times, continue to put out content like this. And I love it. I love doing this. This will never get old to me. So yeah, I'm grateful that you guys are being patient until I get my setup and everything I need. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.